Hello, Augusta! Augusta! Hey, y'all, join me in showing how much we appreciate Dion Jackson. Dion, thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you, Dion. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Augusta, are you ready to work? Yeah! Are you ready to win? Yeah! Who came here today because you love our country? Yeah! Who came here today because you're just a little bit mad? I feel you. Then turn to your neighbor, somebody you didn't come with, and tell them, I'm not sitting this one out. Say it again. Say, I'm not sitting this one out. It is so great. It is so great to be with you here in Augusta. Home of Fort Gordon. I'd like to ask every veteran, every military service member, every military spouse to please raise your hand and be honored by all of us. Thank you so much for your service to our country. Thank you. Now, Augusta, I don't know if you saw, but J.D. Vance was in Georgia this week. Don't worry, no one showed up. The stadium was empty. Did you see that? But J.D. came to UGA to attack the Pope. 2 days after Donald Trump depicted himself as Jesus Christ. The faithless president depicts himself as Christ while he plunges the nation into wars of choice, while he and his family rake in billions from foreign princes, while he plunders our health care to cut taxes for the rich. Meanwhile, rent, power, groceries, and health care have all hit all-time highs this year. This year. Ground beef's up 20% since Trump took office. Coffee, 40%. Health premiums through the roof. And remember, while you pay more for everything, the first family's wealth is growing by billions of dollars. Because they're crooks. And everybody knows it. We were promised a golden age. Instead, the economy's lost 75,000 manufacturing jobs just since Trump launched his big illegal tariffs. Hiring's at its lowest rate since 2020. Did y'all hear that? Hiring is at its lowest rate since 2020. Zero net private sector job creation for the past 6 months. Here in Georgia, International Paper closed its plants in Savannah and Riceboro, more than 1,000 jobs gone. SK just laid off almost 1,000 workers at their EV battery plant over in Commerce because of this administration's war on renewable energy. Now, we were told MAGA was for the working class. Do you remember that? But this is a government of, by, and for the ultra-rich. They are the elites they pretend to hate. That's why they gutted Medicaid and let health insurance premiums double for more than 20 million Americans to fund another tax cut for the rich. And then, did you hear what this man said 2 weeks ago? Quote, "It's not possible," the president said, "for us to take care of daycare, Medicaid, or Medicare." He said we can only afford to fund war. Then released a budget demanding $1.5 trillion for the Pentagon next year alone, paid for by ending utility assistance for families, canceling affordable housing programs, and cutting cancer research, all to fund a huge increase for the military-industrial complex. Because draft-dodging Donald loves sending other people's children to war. Just 2 weeks into this war, the White House told us they'd need $200 billion to fund it. Let me just put that in perspective for you. $200 billion would fund a decade, 10 full years of nationwide universal pre-kindergarten. Instead, a war no one voted for and no one can explain. And the daily, the hourly lying to the American public about why we're at war, whether we've won, what's been agreed to. Not to mention the insane genocidal threats. Let's review the record. On day 10 of the war, the president said, quote, "The war is very complete." That was day 10. That was day 10. Then day 11, going to be finished pretty quickly. Day 12, we won. Day 21, getting very close. Day 32, leaving very soon. Day 40, total and complete victory. Yesterday, day 49, Trump said Iran had opened the strait, except this morning the strait was closed and it looks like Iran hit a cargo ship. Here's what we know. Here's what we know. 13 brave Americans killed and hundreds wounded. Thousands of civilians dead. Military equipment it will take years to replace. Skyrocketing inflation. Massive damage to our reputation and position in the world. Meanwhile, Iran's ballistic missiles and drones are not destroyed. We replaced Ayatollah Khamenei with Ayatollah Khamenei. The regime is intact, along with its ability to throttle the global energy supply, along with its stockpile of highly enriched uranium, which it only assembled after Donald Trump shredded President Obama's Iran deal. Do you remember that? See, the Obama administration had done actual work, led by actual diplomats. Trump literally sends his golf buddy Steve and his son-in-law Jared. How much do you guys know about Jared Kushner? Ivanka's husband. He's on the Saudi payroll for $2 billion. Did you know that? And now he's leading American diplomacy in the Middle East, apparently while at the very same time asking princes and sheikhs across the Arab world to give him billions more. If you're watching this online, don't take my word for it. Look it up for yourself. Can you imagine like a normal sitting U.S. ambassador just hitting up Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman for billions of dollars? But he's a Trump, a royal, a princeling. The rules are for us, not for them. And it's not just Jared getting in on the action. A company owned in part by Eric and Don Jr. has been pitching Gulf kingdoms on its drone interceptors during this war. The Financial Times reported, quote, Pete Hegseth's broker looked to buy defense fund before Iran attack. I tell you what, never before have we seen so little effort to hide so much corruption. The Mar-a-Lago mafia has taken American corruption to spectacular new heights. But corruption in America runs a lot deeper than Donald Trump. Because how does American politics really work? It's coin operated. Money goes in, favors come out. It's been running on secret money, corporate money, billionaire money, both sides. Both sides. Citizens United was the worst court decision in modern American history. It's why members of Congress don't listen to the people. They listen to their donors. And this corruption is why insurance companies get away with denying your claim for a procedure you needed to save your life. This corruption is why big tech's still allowed to spy on us and track our every move and sell our private lives to the highest bidder. This corruption is why the ultra-rich get tax cuts while you pay more for everything. And beneath it all, a lazy, cynical expedience in Congress and in both political parties, serving donors and reciting poll-tested talking points with no higher purpose than winning the next election. A politics unmoored from fixed moral principles and incapable of inspiration or great national achievement. And all of this gave rise to a depraved president who exploits this rot to empower and enrich himself. But Augusta, it doesn't have to be this way. Everywhere I go across our state, no matter their political party, people are telling me they're desperate for change and for new ideas. The young couple expecting their first child who wonder how they'll afford a crib and a stroller, let alone a first home. And their health insurance just went up $1,000 a month. The student working through college who still needs food stamps to make rent, whose conscience can't stand their tax dollars being used to lock up immigrant children at home or to kill innocent children overseas. The South Georgia farmer whose costs rise and earnings fall each year, whose kids have left the family farm, who had to wait almost 2 years for federal aid after the hurricane. See, they want us to solve problems. And it's no mystery what problems need solving. Right at the top of our list here in Georgia is our state's health care emergency. Now, it's an emergency that some of our so-called leaders try to dress up as normal. They try to numb us to the suffering they've caused. They've continued to block Medicaid expansion, while Georgia's lost 21 hospitals in 20 years. Last year, they gutted Medicaid nationally. And already one labor and delivery unit in Georgia has closed, citing those Medicaid cuts, with more pain coming for hospitals and clinics and nursing homes. And then the Affordable Care Act cuts, which caused nearly 250,000 Georgians to lose insurance in the first 3 months of this year. All this when here in Georgia, we already have the second highest uninsured rate in the nation, the third fewest mental health providers, the fourth worst newborn weight at birth. Just wrap your head around this. When you're born in the state of Georgia, your life expectancy is shorter than if you've been born in Lebanon, a country that's been in a state of intermittent war for decades. And now consider that our state's economy, just our state, is 40 times larger than Lebanon's national economy. But they're living longer than us. The legendary civil rights leader, Marion Wright Edelman, said, quote, "We don't have a money problem, we have a profound values and priorities problem." Because this isn't just the way it is, or the way it has to be. All this needless death and suffering and misery is a choice. Georgia's leaders have chosen to leave Georgians without health insurance and without hospitals. So let's stop pretending those responsible are competent, serious people. They're over in Atlanta having a stake at the palm, handing out your tax dollars to their donors while women hemorrhage in Georgia labor wards because they didn't get prenatal care. And then the insurance companies that fill their campaign coffers are allowed to deny and delay the health care Georgians need. The Monroe County mother of 3 with cancer denied a liver transplant, who had to fight her insurance company while being told she had just 6 months to live. The retired Georgia teacher who'd paid $100,000 into a cancer policy, only to be diagnosed with cancer and then have her claims denied. True stories. And just the tip of the iceberg. The thousands, listen to this, thousands of Georgia children denied health care by insurance companies, many of them foster children, while in the last few years the state of Georgia threw tens of thousands of kids off health insurance altogether. No child in Georgia should be turned away from the doctor because they don't have health insurance. No child in Georgia should have to go without a checkup or be denied the hearing or dental or vision or mental health care they need to be happy and healthy and to thrive. How can we say we're doing right when children are being turned away from the doctor? When insurance companies deny Georgia kids and Georgia families care they need, when state officials turn a blind eye to the abuse and mistreatment of Georgia's foster kids, some of whom are literally trafficked while in the care of the state. All of this, the corruption, the callous neglect and needless suffering signal not just a political crisis, but a moral one. I look at the agenda in Washington today advanced by so many who drape themselves in the banner of righteous faith. And I ask, where in Scripture are we commanded to deny care to the sick? To take from those with the least and give to those with the most. To hunt down the refugee and take her from her infant child. But our task is not just to contain this wickedness. It's to repair the brokenness underneath it. Today's small and self-serving politics has distanced us from the great national spirit that defeated fascism, that landed men on the moon, that passed civil rights laws. And yet last week, while our president flailed in the strait, the American spacecraft Artemis, with 4 heroes on board, returned humanity to the far side of the moon, recalling the best of American genius and strength and achievement, and sending back images that remind us not to take for granted our precious, fragile planet. The United States is still destined for greatness. But only united will we meet the challenges and seize the opportunities of our time. To guarantee great health care for every American. To unleash an affordable housing boom and save our family farms. To harness new technologies for the good of the many and not the few. To make America the world leader on human rights and return nations to the path of peaceful coexistence. Peaceful coexistence. But none of this is possible without victory this November. Augusta, are you ready to win? Then let's do something together right here. Let's take action together right here, right now. Are you ready to do something? Okay, I'm asking you to pull out your cell phone. Go ahead and pull out your phone. Hold it up in the air. Let me see it when you got it. Y'all good? Okay. Now I want you to create a new text message. Raise your other hand when it's open. Take your time. Y'all got it? New text message. Okay, you're going to send a message to the following number. Are you ready? Are you ready? The number is 51015. 51015. I'm going to give it to you one more time. 51015. Y'all got it? Okay, you're going to text the word join to 51015. You got it? Because Augusta, it's going to take all of us. Augusta, are you ready to win? One if by land, two if by sea. Do y'all remember that? 251 years ago today, late on April 18th, 1775, 2 lanterns hung in the steeple of the Old North Church in Boston, Massachusetts. The sign for Paul Revere to ride and warn the king. Troops were advancing on the Patriots to crush the revolution. At dawn the next day in Lexington and Concord, the Minutemen fought and won their first battle against the Crown. Their first battle against the Crown. See, our nation is founded on a rejection of kingdom and on the radical idea that all human beings have a natural right to liberty. Dr. King said of our Declaration of Independence, quote, "Never before in the history of the world has a socio-political document expressed in such profound, eloquent, and unequivocal language the dignity and worth of human personality." And from those founding ideals, despite our sins and through courageous struggle, the flame of American freedom has grown brighter and bolder and given hope to the whole world. But today we face a president who's embarked on this unmistakable project not to lead us, but to rule us as subjects. He deifies and enriches himself as he adorns the White House in gold and raises a massive force of masked federal police. The president who once tried to overturn his own defeat now tries to jail elected leaders of the opposition, prosecute Americans who defy or criticize him, and seize control of elections nationwide. As he indulges in careless militarism around the world, he plans a monument to himself so tall it will disrupt air traffic into our nation's capital. For all this, the founders of our republic must be turning in their graves. But they gave us the tools to fix it. Freedoms guaranteed at our founding, made real through struggle and sacrifice in places like Seneca Falls and Selma and Stonewall. And of all the freedoms at stake, none is more powerful or precious than the right to vote. In Georgia, we know better than anyone that the election deniers are on the march. The Fulton County raid, the executive order attacking voting, the MAGA loyalists on our state election board, they've made their plans very clear. But Georgians are prepared to answer with a mobilization so massive and with a defense of voting rights so fierce that no plot against the franchise can foil the will of the people. Because how foolish of them to come to the cradle of the civil rights movement, to spread those lies and seize our ballots. How foolish to launch an attack on voting rights here in Georgia at the political and spiritual center of the very black history they seek to erase. Augusta, their attacks only strengthen our resolve. And if all of us here do what we must do, the sound of feet marching to the polls this fall will be heard in every corner of our state and all the way on high where Congressman Lewis will look down and see a job well done. Augusta, are you ready to win? A wave is building. The kind that comes once a generation when people have been pushed too far and they decide all at once and all together that enough is enough. Across Georgia, more and more of every background and belief reject this chaos and corruption. It's not just Democrats and independents. Republicans pull me aside or they call me on the phone and they tell me they're voting for a Democrat for the first time in their lives. And we welcome them. Five years ago, in the early hours of January 6th, 2021, right before the president's mob sacked the Capitol, hope broke out across the nation because the people of Georgia had spoken so clearly. Because Georgia sent the young Jewish son of an immigrant and a black pastor who holds Dr. King's pulpit at Ebenezer Baptist Church to the U.S. Senate. We did it before. We'll do it again. And as long as we don't give in to doubt or despair or division, our victories will be so decisive that no half-baked plot hatched in the White House will foil the will of the people. Because history is calling the question, what kind of people are we? And Georgia is ready to answer once again that the measure of our success is not how many of the poorest and most vulnerable families we hunt down and shackle and imprison and deport, The measure of our success is whether each generation achieves greater health and prosperity than the last, and whether we live up to the promise of equal justice for all. Georgia is ready to send a message that we will bow to no king. So Augusta, are you ready to work? Are you ready to win? Let's get it done. Thank you so much, Augusta. Thank you for being here.